But let's talk now to Daisy Graham-Brown. She's a journalist at the Mail on Sunday, did a fantastic piece at the weekend about where charity money that is collected by some of those chuggers, they used to call them, on the streets, trying to get you basically to give money for anti-knife crime, where the money actually ends up. £3 million we've handed over to these very pushy high street collectors, and the piece that she wrote was really quite revealing about, one, how they're trained to do what they do, and also where that money ends up. Daisy, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike. Thank you so much for having me on.
No, not at all. Thanks so much for coming on. And fascinating piece this. Part of the reason that I find it so fascinating is that I walk past these characters pretty much every single day when I come to work. And I've now got a very different view of them than the one I had before your piece appeared. So tell us about it. Tell us how you got interested in it in the first place.
Well, the reason I got interested in it was because I got by them, essentially, in January outside Tottenham Court Road. I was meeting a friend, and I would say, kind of ambushed by one of them.
Yeah, they're quite aggressive, aren't they?
They really are. And they'd said, is there any way you can make a contribution? Can you donate some money? And I sort of said, no, I'm sorry, I'm running off to meet a friend, sorry. Yeah. And they really, honestly, they would not let me go until I gave them some money. And I ended up giving them like 25 quid. And the whole of the rest of the day, I was thinking, gosh, why did I do that? I shouldn't have just acquiesced.
Because because unlike most of these charity collectors, they say, oh, don't worry if you haven't got any cash on you, because a lot of people don't. You can sign up online. Yeah,
exactly. You can pay by card, Apple Pay, whatever you want. Yeah. And they're selling a magazine ostensibly for £5, but really, as we found, that most people are pressured to donate much, much more than that.
Right.
And they're not even a charity.
Right. And when you looked into this fundraising organisation, the most recent accounts for them said that they spent more than £3 million on salaries and commission in a year after raising 3.1 million. So there's a very clear sign there that they're not really spending anything more than about, not even 10% of the money they get on actual charitable work.
Exactly. Their kind of pitch to you on the side of the street is that they are fighting knife crime, they're helping get young people off the streets. But what they kind of aren't particularly clear about is the fact that the money is going towards those jobs that are the jobs on the street pitching you about knife crime. And they make very lucrative commissions. I went undercover at one of their training sessions and was basically told that you can make as much money as you want to make. Which I think a lot of people would be quite shocked to find out.
And we're not talking about a small amount of money, right? I mean, you're talking about several £100 potentially a week.
Oh, a day. Yeah, they said that it's possible in commissions to make £500 a day.
Wow.
Which is a lot of money.
It is an awful lot of money. And I mean, the trouble is, an awful lot of charities operate not perhaps quite as ruthlessly as this, but people don't often realise that when you give money to charity, for every £1 you give them, at least 75 to 80 pence of it is going to go to the charitable organisation and how they run it.
Well, yeah, I mean, charities, big and small, have different ways that they spend their money, but at the very least, charities are regulated by the Charity Commission, and they are allowed to fundraise. What this organisation is doing, because they're not a charity, is they're fundraising in breach of fundraising law. They are not allowed to fundraise, and the way they get around that is by selling you this magazine, which, as I've said, they sell for far more than the £5 sale price.
Okay. So by giving you a magazine, they could say, oh, well, we sold Daisy a magazine for £25, and that's how they get around it.
Exactly. But obviously, you wouldn't walk into a shop and pick up a copy of the Mail on Sunday and the shopkeeper says, actually, can I have £25 for this?
No,
that's exactly just not how it works.
And they also sell it to you on the basis that they are themselves, sort of previous victims of the knife crime culture, and that they might be ex-gang members, or they might be people who, have been helped by the charity. So they give you a sort of sob story to go along with it. Are you saying that some of that might be, shall we say, slightly embellished?
Well, exactly. I was given a training sheet where I was told to, make up how the organisation has helped me. And in the training session, the guy doing the training essentially said, make sure you use triggering words, talk about young people's mental health. It's without question, I'm sure maybe some of them have been helped by this, but the extent of that help is the fact that they're earning money. Right. That's what the help is.
And this is one particular organisation, Inside Success Union, CIC it's called. But there are others, aren't there? Because I mean, it's not the only one that's out there. Because wherever you go now in London, there seems to be these sort of packs of relatively young people kind of waiting to pounce on unsuspecting victims.
Exactly, it's something that I'm continuing to look into because I think Inside Success is certainly the largest. They are across the UK now, Bristol, Manchester, Glasgow, Birmingham. But yes, this model, certain people have definitely kind of caught on to the fact that it's possible to make a lot of money by, mostly probably from tourists who don't know any better or aren't particularly kind of savvy with this stuff, who, on the side of the street, they can't get away and they're told, give us 25 quid and if you don't, you're essentially not a particularly good person because what do you mean you don't care about knife crime?
Right. No, exactly right. And it's organisations listed as a community interest company. What does that mean exactly?
Well, so they're a company, but a community interest company is a social enterprise, which basically means it's not a charity, it's a company, but it's in theory all its profits go towards the community good.
Right.
Basically, they can't kind of take out too many profits from the business.
Right.
But again, the way Inside Success gets around this model is the fact that their kind of social good that they're doing is giving employment to young people, which they are doing in their masses every day.
Well, true. I mean, we've got a statement from them here where they say, we do not employ or instruct young individuals to engage in any form of forceful or disruptive behaviour. Instances where our representatives may have appeared intrusive or non-compliant with regulations are not representative of our organisation's values.
Well, that's fine for them to say, but the fundraising regulator found them several times over to have used aggressive tactics.
Yeah.
We've heard stories of people who were marched to cash points. It's extraordinary.
Yeah.
You just look online, you'll see people commenting about the time that they were pressured into doing it. I mean, me myself, that's why I was interested in this,
Sure.
because I felt incredibly pressured to donate.
Absolutely. And as a result of your piece, which, as I say, is fantastic, are the Charity Commission looking into it, or is anybody else looking into it now?
Well, it's a difficult one. The Charity Commission can't look into it because they're not a charity.
Right.
The fundraising regulator has done fantastic investigations over the past couple of years. They continue to be aware of this, but really it should come down to local authorities to clamp down on this.
Right.
Manchester is the kind of flagship example of a council that decided we've had enough of this, and they actually, brought prosecution against them in Manchester.
Right.
However, I've heard that the very next day they were out there fundraising again in Manchester.
Well, it's obviously a very lucrative form of business, whatever it is that they're doing. But great piece. Anyway, Daisy, thank you very much indeed. Very helpful to the general good and the general populace. Daisy Graham-Brown there for the Mail on Sunday, exposing where this £3 million business actually gets the idea to do what they do. You might have been somebody who's come across them in the past. Spokesman for Inside Success Union said this, as I say, we do not employ or instruct young individuals to engage in any form of forceful or disruptive behaviour. Instances where our representatives may have appeared intrusive or non-compliant with regulations are not representative of our organisation's values.